guys, it's Gamer Ahmer here. So today I wanted to go ahead and talk about some more fun games for this Vectric system that you see in front of me. Now this system is a pretty odd system, as this was released in 1982 and was shortly retired in 1984. So there aren't too many games for this system, but this system is a must-have in my collection, and I've grown to appreciate a lot of these games. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about 5 more fun games for the Vectric. If you see my first video on this Vectric system, I go into a little bit more detail about the actual system itself, how it operates, and some more games that I have for the Vectric system. So today we're going to take a look at 5 more fun games for this system. So first up, we have this pretty awesome game. This is called Clean Sweep. Now this game is very similar to the game Pac-Man, which everyone knows and loves. And what they did with this system is they actually have this pretty sweet overlay that you just go ahead and place in this console right here. And then of course the cartridge actually goes on the side and just pops right in here. So Clean Sweep is such a fun game. It's very similar to Pac-Man on how you play the game, but the backstory is a little bit different. So essentially you are a bank president, and what happens is a bunch of bank robbers actually blow up your bank to smithereens. So these little dots that are all over the screen, that is actually your money. So you are one character and you go against many bank robbers, and all that you have available is actually a vacuum cleaner. So what you have to do is vacuum up all of the money that's blown to pieces all over the screen. And it's very similar looking to Pac-Man, and it even plays very similar. So essentially, the more money that you collect in this vacuum, your vacuum actually expands. So you have to essentially dump out this money in the center of the screen, which is the vault, as you may call it. And you'll know when you have to go to the vault because the vacuum actually stops sucking up all of the debris that's left behind. And this game is very similar to Pac-Man because there are some spots where the tables turn and you actually go ahead and eat the enemies. So this game is a pretty fun game. It's very similar to Pac-Man. I really enjoy this game, and it plays different a little bit each time. And this game also has some escape tunnels, essentially, which is very similar to Pac-Man, where you go off screen on one side and you can appear back on screen on the other. So those are your little escape tunnels or shortcuts. So this game is a lot of fun, and it has a lot of challenging aspects to it, as it gets a little bit more difficult each time that you play it. And it's so much fun. I really enjoy playing this game. So next up we have this game called Armor Attack, and this is a pretty fun game. The overlay looks a lot more detailed than previous overlays, so you have various different colors, and then you even have some designs on here which really work with the gameplay itself. So essentially with this game, you have 4 different controls when playing the game. So on this overlay, it explains how you can rotate left, rotate right, thrust, and fire. So this game is essentially based in a war zone where you control a jeep that tries to get away from various enemies such as tanks or helicopters. And you get the most points for destroying these helicopters as they fly in between waves of tanks that appear on your screen. So this game is a pretty fun game, although it does get repetitive at times. So the first time that you shoot at a tank, it's actually immobilized, and then the second time, it actually disables the firing capabilities. But the really cool thing about this game is that you can actually play with 2 players simultaneously. So this game is pretty sweet with that co-op mode that you can go ahead and play. So it really adds to this game right here, especially being an older style game where you can go ahead and have that capability along with this game. And then next up we have this pretty awesome shoot 'em up game. Now this is called Ripoff, and this is actually a really fun game. So I really enjoyed playing this game, especially for this video. So essentially you have 4 different options where you can rotate left, rotate right, thrust, and fire, which you'll see with many other Vectrex games. And then you just put this overlay in here like this. And then of course we have the cartridge. So this game's a little bit different than some of the other shoot 'em up games. So essentially in the middle of this screen right here, you'll actually have 8 different canisters where you have to defend and protect these canisters from enemies that go ahead and pop up on the screen. So this game is a lot of fun. It's very challenging, and the enemies spawn from different areas. So you'll have to go ahead and pay attention to where they're coming from and quickly disable them so that they do not steal these canisters from the center of the screen. And another cool thing about this game is that it's also one of the first co-ops. Once again, you can go ahead and play with 2 players, which makes it a lot easier than playing by yourself, as there are multiple enemies that come onto the screen and try and steal these canisters. So it really helps when you have someone else helping you along with this game. But it really makes for a challenging and fun game playing by yourself. So essentially how Ripoff gets its name is that these pirates essentially come onto the screen. They try and steal these canisters and drag them off the screen. So you are essentially being ripped off by these pirates. So that's where the name comes from. So this game was pretty challenging, but I really enjoyed playing it as it was a little bit different each time. And you kind of get the hang of it the more that you play. So essentially you have to shoot and destroy all of these enemy ships that come on the screen. And you eventually lose the game by losing all of these canisters that you're protecting in the middle, which is pretty challenging and pretty fun as it is. So next up we have another fun shoot 'em up game. You'll notice that we have Solar Quest right here, and of course the entire screen is blue except for this middle section right here. So this middle yellow section is actually the sun in this game, so it revolves around that. So you just put the overlay on here, pop the game in. So this game is pretty fun. It's very similar to Asteroids in its shoot 'em up style. And it's pretty neat because everything kind of centers around this sun right there. So you have waves of enemies that appear on screen, and there could be up to 8 different enemies that you have to shoot and destroy. Now when you do destroy these enemies, you'll notice that something is floating behind, and that's actually a survivor. So what you have to do is actually save these survivors as it may be. And the game actually gets even more challenging because there's different types of enemy ships, and there's tons of enemies on the screen that you have to go ahead and handle. So this game is pretty fun, and the enemies are pretty challenging because they will ram at your ship and they also shoot at you. So you have to be cognizant of everything that's going on at one time, and essentially everything gets sucked into the sun. So last up, we move on to Star Trek, the motion picture for the Vectric system. Now this game is a lot of fun, and of course everyone always debates on Star Wars versus Star Trek. Well, they made a Star Trek game for the Vectrics, but not a Star Wars, so we'll take a look at this game. So of course you can play 2-player on this game as well, and here you have power link, shield, and fire options on this game. So we'll just place the overlay right here, and then we'll place the game. So essentially in this game, you take on the role of Captain Kirk, and you have to guide the Enterprise through some hostile sectors, and along the way you have to clear out the Romulan and Klingon ships. So this game is a lot of fun, and it definitely has a pretty cool view while playing the game. So you're essentially in the cockpit, and it's one of those flight simulation games. So this game is definitely a lot of fun for those Star Trek fans, and they did a really good job on capturing this first-person style game right here. And a challenging aspect about this game is that you don't actually have unlimited shields or torpedoes in this game. So on the bottom of the screen you can actually see exactly how much you have by these little bars that are across the screen. So one bar actually simulates how much shields you have, and the other one actually shows how much photon torpedoes you actually have in firing. So it really helps you along the way of playing this game. And it's definitely pretty challenging because you can't just continuously shoot. You have to be mindful of how much ammo and how much shield power you actually have left. So this game is pretty fun, it's pretty challenging, and it's even pretty neat on how you actually die in this game. Just one hit and it just cracks the entire screen. So it's definitely a pretty cool look on how you actually get hit, because it makes it feel like you actually did get hit and your ship was destroyed. So this is a pretty fun and interesting game as well. So this Vectric system is one of my favorites in my collection, and it's definitely an odd looking system as it reminds me of a mini arcade machine that's actually in my collection. So this system is pretty awesome. I'm going for a complete set of Vectrex games, and that also includes many of the homebrews that have been created over the years for the Vectrex. So if you'd like to see a little bit more about this Vectrex, then stay tuned, as I actually have some homebrews on the way. So I'll have to get some videos together on some of those awesome games. And if you'd like to see a little bit more about the Vectrex, including the history and some close-up shots of this system, make sure you check out my previous video where I show off the system, talk about the history, and even show off 5 more of my favorite games for this system. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos and stay tuned for more.